Waititu.
It's a wrap for you.
It's a wrap.
Like Torotich.
Yeah, it's done. It's a done deal. But DP has a chance of saving himself from that fate by resigning right before the trial at the Senate.
Because
let's also not rule that out.
Let's
not rule that out.
So are you saying that tuseme process yake ni Wednesday na Thursday?
Yes. He can resign on Tuesday.
Sindio? So can he resign on Wednesday in the morning?
Yes.
I think as long as you resign before
they deliberate.
Yeah, and
or should I say before they vote?
I think before your time, the allotted time that you're supposed to appear.
So with impeachment is a very weird animal. It doesn't have to be a criminal case, and maybe we need to go back and read the
Where's
Constitution.
Pablo when you need him? Pablo!
Maybe we need to go back and read the Constitution, but that threshold is determined, the judicial body that determines the threshold is the Senate. So the parliament just says, okay, these allegations look good enough, send them to court. And what is the court? It's a Senate. So the Senate is the one that adjudicates whether they merit or do not merit impeachment. So I don't think, at this part, I don't think, and I could be wrong, that the court can make a determination on the threshold. Let's say like...
This is pertaining to public participation, because we've talked about public participation. We talked about how there's public participation in Bomas, organized by TJ Kajwang. Then the other ones that we know of are Baringo. We haven't had. I don't know. We haven't seen.
We've seen some clips,
but
it's really not
but
been
in strongholds.
drama.
But there's no quantifiable way to say.
There's no quantifiable.
Yeah. So the people in Mandera, this is what they want.
Exactly.
Or people in Kericho.
We had clips of them.
Yeah.
Northeastern, their clips were all they were very good.
The clips are there, Mika. But the problem, in fact, what's being challenged in court is this process is not quantifiable. So what's the point of having this process if there's no verifiable way of quantifying that this is what the people want? And what is the point of doing it?
And what was submitted was,
yes,
it is necessary, and this is now from that Julian Zamboko or whatever, part of the Justice Mugambi's analysis. He says that it is necessary for the citizenry of this country it is necessary for the citizenry of this country know whether the current state of law allows them adequate opportunity to participate meaningfully in the process of the removal of the deputy president.
Repeat that again.
One mic. Or repeat it, and then I will blow a hole right into that.
Yeah.
It is necessary. So I'm just reading a highlighted part.
Yeah.
But prior to that, let me just prior to that, it is in my considered opinion that this matter deserves the input of the bench as to pronounce itself on a process that is constitutionally compliant to serve as benchmarks for future undertakings of this nature. It is necessary for the citizenry of this country know whether the current state of law allows them adequate opportunity to participate meaningfully in the process of the removal of the deputy president.
I make a poke your hole.
So my hole for this is simple. This is not like an election where you can compare a certain to the number of voters that are registered voters to the number of voters that show up. This is a process whereby public participation is gazetted and announced that on a certain day there's going to be public participation about certain issue. And Michael Ibakuku, kujeni kwa chief, tutaongea, baraza itakaa. Baraza, if the people who are supposed to convene the baraza are there, and there are a few other people, even if there are 5, and the village has 50 people, bado ni baraza, that's public participation. Public participation has never had a thing of whereby you need to quantify how many people need to be there. So you see, that brings an issue again to that for them asking that did it in terms of how many people are there, like quantifying the numbers are there.
Yes.
The representation. So Again,
Yeah.
as I say, this is just kicking something into long grass so that other people can make that decision for you.
Okay, very good hole that you've poked. Now I have a hole to poke on your hole that you've poked.
So
Because and this is and now this is why I say this is good, because this is now becoming civic education for all of us.
All of us.
The spirit of public participation was for the public to air their views and for those views to be considered. So so maybe quantifiable, maybe may not be the right word, but the views in whatever way they have to be considered. It's not a box checking exercise. And the Supreme Court has pointed this out before. Public participation is not a box checking exercise, because that's what like the government has been doing. On public participation unataka, we are going to rent a hall, we are going to give you a chance to shout, we are going to give you papers to fill, and then we'll have checked that box. But the spirit of public participation is not to be a box checking exercise. The big gaping hole that we have is that Parliament has slow walked the public participation bill, which would have defined, like how this...
What exactly is public participation?
Yes. So now in the absence of that, that's where the courts come in and provide what's called jurisprudence, where it's a hole whereby the law hasn't provided for this. So now we have to give our position of this is how public participation will look. And the court tries to be reasonable, and they may even give recommendations that Parliament needs to go and write a law. But for now that there's no law, these are the guidelines that we give, and those are the guidelines that will be used with this case and going forward.
Now,
Uno.
I'm glad you brought that up. But before I read what Julian Sampoko wrote,
yes,
if you recall, there's a time there was some guys from, I think, not Kangemi, an activist and a lawyer were interviewed on Spice pertaining to the process and the procedure of impeaching an MCA or a member of parliament or whatever.
Yes.
And they identified and they said that the law, members of parliament have, I'm going to use for they have sort of set up a system. If you want to impeach an MCA or an MCA, local county, the process for impeaching somebody in the county is sort of clear. What you need is 30%. You need to look at each and every ward, and you have to get an equal, or you cannot just go to one ward. Say you cannot just go to Beltsville and get everybody signed up and say we're going to impeach Ali, because that would be biased. So you'd have to go to each and every ward, get a certain number, equal, and then that would be presented as signatures. You pick up those signatures, and then those, as long as they meet the threshold, then you can proceed with, meaning that you've got a certain percentage from this, a certain percentage, meaning that it is equally within from that particular place. Speaking of, what did you call it? Public Participation Act.
Yes.
He says, I'm quoting, I'm going to quote. On September 5th, 2024, the Office of the Solicitor General formally received the Public Participation Bill 2024 from the Clerk of the National Assembly. The bill is currently before the Senate's Standing Committee on Justice, Legal Affairs and Human Rights for consideration and concurrence with the National Assembly. The Office of the Solicitor General to undertake a comprehensive assessment of the public participation landscape in the country and engage stakeholders. Based on the feedback received from stakeholders, the Office of the Solicitor General will then update the Public Participation Bill 2024 and make it available for review by the public.
Yes. So these are things that are happening live. They should have happened earlier.
They should have.
Yeah.
But
we also need to look at that bill.
Yes.
And see, like what it says and if it's consistent with the Constitution.
Yes.
Now, Wairimo is on fire. Wairimo is telling us, also this being a first under the new Constitution, the judiciary will be very careful about precedents. this case will always be the benchmark, 100%. So
100.
this one where people will be watching. And then Marimu also says, and I want people to fact check on this, nominated senators will not vote. He only needs 17 votes. The House allowed nominated MPs to vote though. So someone fact check on that. As of my knowledge right now, I think all the 67 senators are supposed to vote, but I could be wrong on that. Someone please.
I believe it's all of them too.
Yeah, someone please fact check that. And then Hapa, I can see Adhiambo Daka is already in the building. Adhiambo says, let me see. Adhiambo says, hopefully as he goes out, he drags his thieving boss with him. Kwa hiyo mtaro, no compassion for arrogant, ugly, greedy people. And then Kenyan Jui says, Ali, thank you for that very coherent explanation of the process. I am sure not many understood the process. Omosh is conspicuously quiet on the subject, which tells me he too may be a beneficiary of your explanation. Omosh, is that true or false?
Huyo Kenyan Jui arudi pale alikuwa.
Okay. Haya, sawa. Umemaliza za Julius twende kwa Omosh ama bado kuna zingine?
No. This one, no, nimemaliza.
Yeah.
Kuna ingine which I know you would love. I know this one.
Okay.
It's about the constitution, constitutionality, or hold on. If parliament is properly or improperly constituted. So no, hold on. Hold on.
Some tena. That one right there. That one.
Should I read that?
They pulled that one out.
No, soma hiyo hapo because when we go to him, because this is a poison pill hapa. If this one succeeds,
do you want me? Samangwe.
Where?
That one will be ignored.
So,
okay, read it. No, read it. Just read it so that people. We're in civic education mode. Yeah.
So, Julian Amboko says, another issue that Justice Bugambi identifies is the question as to whether Parliament is improperly constituted, 2/3 gender rule, and therefore incapable of carrying out an impeachment process. Supreme Court Advisory Opinion number 2/2012 comes under sharp focus here, given the majority position that, in quotes, legislative measures for giving effect to the 1 to 2/3 gender principle should be taken by 27th August 2015. So, highlighted is very simple. The question whether the current parliament is improperly constituted and thus incapable of carrying out impeachment process in the light of Supreme Court Advisory number 2 of 2012 was also highlighted. Sasa hii mambo okay, sasa
that's a very poisonous pill, but wacha tusikie swali ya Mika first before I give my views on that.
Kaende.
Yeah.
Swali yangu ni can they have an excuse there and say, because we know there's some constituencies which don't have MPs, and that is why they haven't attained the equal gender threshold.
No. Sorry. That
Mika is reaching.
That's a good one.
It's a good question. You know, I think there's maybe 3 constituencies that don't have MPs. It's a good question, but I don't think
there are 3 actually that don't have.
Yeah, but I think the gender rule,
and even IBC is not constituted.
Yeah, I think the gender rule, is not necessarily is on the MPs who are sitting, because there's the constitution.
It's based off the number of the people who are there.
Yes, the constitution does foresee a situation where a member of parliament
should everyone
might die.
be there?
Yeah, no, but not to get lost. Not to get lost on this point.
Go ahead, yes.
Not to get lost on this point. This ruling right here, I think this will be very extreme. I don't see Kome's courts, like going for it, but I think this is the antidote that Kenya needs right now. Burn everything, like Eric Kilmonga says in Wakanda Forever. Burn it all. By burning it all, you're saying this parliament is illegally constituted, so burn everything and let's go for a fresh election. We reset the clock. Because right now, where we are, the problem with that ruling is that it might invalidate everything that this parliament did from when it was constituted
In 2022.
Yeah. Although the ruling was going back to 2015, it gave a deadline. The directive from the Supreme Court gave a deadline of August 2015. I think, you know, like it might, a lot of things might be destroyed. The whole country might be burned. So I think if they could give a ruling in a certain directed way to burn everything, I think Kenya, where tuko, we just need to be restored back to factory settings to anze fresh.
Don't you guys love civic education?
Yeah, to anze fresh.
Sasa hii fresh tutaanza bila IBC.
Hey. Okay.
Nauliza tu.
Now you're
sorry, I'm asking.
I'm
asking what Mika was thinking.
Kenyan Jui sasa. Kenyan Jui.
I'm asking what Mika was thinking.
That is a new spanner. Because
Ali, that is a very good question, because if that happens, the speaker is the one who's supposed to run the country for 90 days.
Yes,
another question.
An election has to be called, and then you still don't have an IBC that is constituted.
And then only the president can select a board.
No, but if parliament is being dissolved, the president is not dissolved. That's just parliament.
Let's throw a caveat.
So the president is still there.
We are not constitutional
because if the parliament is dissolved, the president and his cabinet, they still remain. They're still there.
But then whatever names they give still have to be vetted by folks. And if there's nobody to do the vetting, then you still cannot populate.
So that's what you call a constitutional crisis.
And over here, Gerald is saying IBC is another scam.
Yeah, that's what you call a constitutional crisis. So I think these
IBC,
are very weighty questions.
IBC has not been constituted.
Yes.
Correct.
So you cannot even...
you can't have an election.
You can't burn it all.
You can't burn it all.
You can't have an election.
Can't have.
Yeah, because you can't have an election.
Right now,
you can't do anything.
A cuckoo.
Yeah.
You can't.
Now, that's what I'm saying. When you hear that, and that's why those noises of a coup kind of start making sense now. It doesn't mean that it was going to be like a bloody coup, but there was a coup that was being put in here politically.
Mm-hmm.
Because let's say we do kufa makanga, kufa dereva. Can the speaker refuse to institute a ABC and rule?
But I'm sorry, because
I don't think the constitution allows for that.
The
constitution is very specific and says hawezi. See, if you're following the constitution, haezi.
Speaker kona shares. Speaker kona shares for government.
When you do a coup,
okay, understood.
You don't follow the constitution.
No, you don't. But speaker has shares.
Yeah, typically when coups happen in other countries, they suspend the constitution.
They suspend the constitution.
Yeah.
But the speaker Wetangula himself right now, are we talking about Amazon?
No. It's Wetangula. Wetangula is the one who will become, if we don't have a president and a DP, Wetangula is the one who's next in line.
Wetangula kona shares. Alipewa na kakimia.
So now,
one mic, let me tell you something. There's greed for two things in life. There's greed for wealth,
power,
and there's greed of power.
Mm-hmm.
The latter is very dangerous. Ukionja hivi na unatama, you can do anything.
Okay, Mika.
So anaweza kuwa shareholder, akona 30%.
Lakini ameonja,
lakini akiguza kwenda 100. Ajiambia mbona mimi nisikuwe na 100.
Akiguza Murima. Akionja
Murima ishaguzwa.
Murima right now, we are leaking our wounds.
Okay.
But over here, Gerald is asking a very... Okay, I don't know. How Kenyans keep bringing up IBC defeats me. Here's the thing.
Because we need an electoral body.
Unfortunately,
so that we can have elections.
People are set up. We need IBC.
We need IBC.
No matter
what.
You
can't play a game without a ref.
No, you can't.
Even if you don't like the refs. There has to be a ref.
We don't like...
you cannot recall
Michael Oliver.
You cannot do anything.
Yeah.
Yes, that's where we are.
Yeah. But now, like just taking a slightly different tangent, because these are very weighty issues that even we, like with all the research we've done, we cannot adjudicate. We have to wait and see what's going to happen next week.
I have one more, but
we're teaching on a constitutional crisis. We'll read it later.
Yes.
Now, Omosh.
Yeah.
Now, do you think with what's happening, with the playbook that the Supreme Court is going to give next week, of this is how an impeachment is supposed to happen. Do you think maybe secretly people are gonna, they're secretly writing a playbook of what people who've been shouting Ruto must go will try to use in future? Because now we'll have a playbook that this is how it's supposed to be done. Because we've never impeached a president before, but a deputy president is what comes closest to a president. What do you think?
Well, I guess you can say that it's been written, because then now we have precedent, right?
Yes.
So, and normally you go with what has happened before.
Yeah.
And then, of course, out of that, there is lessons learned and what can actually work and what is constitutionally sound, or should I say backed by law, right? And once all of those things are put together, then now you know exactly what it is that you would need to do. If it's, you have to do 1 + 1, 1 + 2 + 4 + 8 + 9 to get this person out, then you know that that's exactly what you need to do. You may not need, you may rearrange how you get to that 48 number, hypothetically, but it doesn't mean that you have to do the 1 + whatever. You could start with 9.
But Omosh, is this playbook of yours a playbook for everybody, or is it a playbook that everybody? Because what I'm thinking, how I'm understanding at least, how if I was a politician,
correct,
right now, if I was a politician right now, and I have ambitions for office, for going for higher office, the past 2 regimes have taught me how to survive and how to attack, and how you need to attack. And I'm seeing these asset presidents, not in a good way. Yes, we know now that you can impeach leaders. It's easy to impeach leaders, right? But guess what? Also, ambitious people who are on the other side have known that it's going to lead to a very corrupt and cutthroat political scene in the country, whereby people will be buying people now. Everybody will be looking for numbers. Deals will be cutting deals. So unless the level of politicians that are sitting in office are cleaned up, I think this is a very, very bad can of worms that has been up.
I think, Mika, you're right. However, this is one of those things that I would say, for all intents and purposes, we have been overtaken by events, because the precedent of impeachment started with
governors,
and it's just been working its way. So eventually we were going to get here.
But even that has been hard, because how many governors, how many MPs have we had that have been impeached or they've been recalled, but they're still in office? Even Sifuna on the show, he admitted that.
we actually have 2 governors who've been impeached and they're out of office.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's a very high number. That's out of 47 governors.
Said how many MCAs and MPs are in office with court cases, because of court cases. They finish their terms with court cases.
So MCAs and MPs, that's different, because they're not impeached. They are recalled. They're recalled. And actually the MCAs, there's never been a recall process for any MCA or member of parliament.
No.
That's a process that has not been tested, which I think also needs to be tested.
It's coming.
What has been tested is impeachment. So Wambora survived. We have the Kericho governor, I'm forgetting his name.
Kivuna survived.
Kivuda survived. I don't know that Kivuda's got to the Senate, but Kivuda survived.
I think he survived locally.
He survived locally.
But Wambora survived.
Wambora survived the Senate.
Yes.
Mwangaza was actually convicted by the Senate, but he's in office courtesy of a court order.
Yes.
The Kericho governor, I'm forgetting his name. The Kericho governor, it's not made it to the Senate.
It's on Monday.
It's
Monday.
It's the one just before.
Senate is gonna be busy.
Yeah, it's Monday, Tuesday,
and
then Wednesday. They Gachagua.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Wow. So the Senate will be quite exact. And I think another thing that also, with all this civic education that's coming out, is the function of the Senate, because for a very long time, and justifiably so, people are always asking, why do we have senators? But now you see processes like this. Processes like this.
Oversighting the...
Yeah. And I think that's why it's important to educate yourself before you go into blanket statements, because I don't think... Look at how Parliament has been captured. Likely Senate has also been captured, but I think Senate, there's a better chance of at least better deliberation and a just hearing. I think just the final voting is the one
because
that
you
will
have
be
your lawyer
problematic.
there,
You have your lawyer
you can
there.
do your defense and all of that,
But
and it's supposed to be listened to
But
and
then at the
weighed.
end of the
But
day, it's
yeah,
a vote. At the end of the day, it's a vote, and it's a political vote.
Yes, it is.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it
At
is.
the end of the day, it's a vote. It's a political vote.
But I think also, it is a political vote, but also procedure. And I guess going back to what Ali was saying, at some point, there has to be a semblance of structure and process to make sure that if it's the modality and the formalities of you're trying to impeach this guy, so you've got articles of impeachment, whatever it is being said, however it's being said, if it can be argued, if you can defend yourself or whatever, you have to make sure that this process in itself, the first time they have to get it right.
Yes.
And I think that is why Mugambi, big up to, because that's the same guy who High Court
oh
judge.
yes, they
He's
had
the same guy who
pulled his nini.
He had
That's
pulled
the
his
same
judge.
guy.
You know
they
why?
pulled his security
because he had
because of the ruling. Yes,
because of he had had career, this interim IG,
The IG,
Masengeli,
Masengeli,
Yes.
whatever his name is.
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
He had been ordered,
Yeah.
and then he had been ordered to serve term. So this guy is like, you know what? I'm not going.
So he punted.
He punted, but guess what? He's like, you know what? Because remember,
But he
let
punted
somebody
with
else
a
say-
message.
let
It wasn't
somebody
just a
else-
blind-
message.
Let
it wasn't a
somebody
blind
else's
punt.
let someone else's security get
yeah, but
docked.
let him punt.
Yeah.
No. It's a punt in that, because you think about it, because he could have just said,
No,
but
yeah.
let me punt, so that let it not
Let's-
be that
I'm the one who stopped the process.
I'm the one who stopped I do not want to be the one who tainted the process. Let this one come from the
High
highest,
above, yeah.
Yes.
the highest.
And I see it to anyone else, so they go
No,
through
no.
what I went
So
through. What
actually
aiende
punt
kienda.
straight.
Direct injection.
Yeah.
Direct injection.
Direct.
He,
Alipiga ondole kutoka number 5.
Yeah.
in Omoshe's words, he injected
He injected.
to the top.
Now, Kenyan Jew is saying, does impeachment and removal from office bar you from running for other government
Yes.
offices?
Yes.
Very good question. It bans you for life.
It's a wrap.
You can't run
He
for senator.
should
You
ask,
can't run
he
for
should
governor.
ask
Any
Sonko
political
and
office.
Waititu.
It's a wrap for
yeah,
you.
it's a wrap.
Like Toroitich.
Toroitich, yeah, it's done. It's a
a
done deal. But DP has a chance of saving himself from that fate by resigning right before the trial
ruling.
Yes.
at the Senate.
Because if he
Let's
no,
also not rule that out.
No, let's not
rule that out.
So are you saying that tuseme hii process yake si
And
ni
that is
Wednesday,
on Monday.
ni Wednesday na Thursday?
Yeah.
Yes.
He can resign on Tuesday.
Sindio? So can he
Tuesday,
resign
4:52
on Wednesday
PM.
in the morning?
Yes.
I think as long as you resign before
Before they deliberate?
yeah, and
Or should I say before they vote?
Yeah.
I think before your time, the allotted time that you're supposed to appear.
So now I think this might also come in if he chooses to resign.
Think about that.
Yeah, this must also be made clear that you have to resign by this time for you, because it's also
but
it's
there's
also not clear, because if you've
It's not clear, so you don't know.
if you're no longer VP
Uh-huh.
and now
They-
you see
Yeah, how do
they-
you rule on
Excuse me.
on
excuse
a
me,
position that's
excuse
not
me,
there?
Excuse me.
Yeah.
It's DP.
yes, if you're no longer DP,
Thank you.
point
Thank you
taken.
kindly, brother.
Yeah, if you're no longer DP, then the process is not there. But now let's also remember the people who are responsible for gazetting the resignation of a deputy president are under the president's control. So your resignation, because you have to have legally resigned.
So are you saying that hapa kwa government press printings sijui nini
They're on
nothing
standby.
Yeah, they're on standby.
nothing will happen?
They're on standby to
Yani
do
ile
nothing.
announcement ile waga natokaga na kale kanini coat of
does-
arms.
So does
Yeah.
the DP usually have
Welolo ya,
a resignation letter already set?
I think
Already-
you know, it's
already-
interesting that you say that, because we've had scenarios where it's like, okay, as part of you coming in for the job, you already have a resignation letter sitting
Signed,
at my
yeah.
desk.
And I had that from Morara. And yeah,
Yes.
you have a resignation letter signed. So and this is according to Morara,
So I
it's
can,
not me. He
I can
said
pull it out at any
the-
point and wave it
the
in the
former
air.
the former IG Japheth Koome,
Had two.
yeah,
When he was hired,
like he didn't even know that he had resigned. He just heard that he had resigned, and the documents were already gazetted. So that's interesting. I want
again,
to
sorry.
But are you saying that if it's not gazetted, then it is not
No,
No,
it
no,
is
no,
not.
no, 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 no. You already have 2 letters.
No, but what I'm saying here, what Ali is saying about the gazettement, right?
Yeah, the
if it is
gazettement,
not
yeah,
gazetted, then that means
it
that
has
it
to be
is not.
gazetted, yeah.
No, it has to be gazetted.
So
has
he
to be
can't
gazetted, yeah.
come out and wave a white flag and say,
no.
I'm on X.
No,
And
no.
I've X'd myself out.
Kuna rumor alipigiwa simu on Monday akaambiwa resign akakataa.
Okay. Aya, sawa.
As Vika said, rumor.
Yeah, and then hapa
Ni rumor music ni kama tu ile simu wanasemanga Morara alipigiwa ama kupigiwa pia bado ni unajua kuna vitu zingine huwezi argue.
But we've had that.
yeah, sasa
hapa
hapa Wanjeri is saying it's cowardly to resign. And Gerald Oliech says, I feel he didn't take the resigning option because he has a few cards up his sleeve. Then Kenji says, sure that you don't have the detail, but let me ask this: Can they afford to screw with the VP or DP? Kwani Rigiji does not know where the bodies are buried. That's another thing that we don't know.
But there's
and then Wanjeri says resigning would be an insult to those who went for public participation.
No, there's over here. Kenyan is asking. In other words, can the VP EG run for Senate or governor? No.
Yeah.
You can't run for
life.
any political office. It's a wrap.
Okay.
Nothing.
All right. I want to remind the listeners that you're tuned in to the One Mic Show, and I'm your host and producer, Ali Badawi, with my panelists here. I have Omosh besides me, I have Uno Mike, I have Mika, and we're here talking about the ongoing drama surrounding the impeachment of Kenya's deputy president. Now, DP Gachagua is scheduled for an impeachment trial next week in the Senate chambers, in a process that might lead to his removal from office. His legal team, led by veteran lawyer Paul Mwite, is mounting a fight in court, hoping to be saved from the butcher's knife. We'll shortly be talking about other critical issues that have been obscured by the impeachment trial, including abductions and enforced disappearances. So stay tuned for that. Our lines are open. The number to call is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. Hii topic ni moto. Sijui kwa nini hakuna mtu amepiga. The number again to call is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. Feel free to call in. And then again, I'll remind you that tonight's show is brought to you courtesy of money sending app Lemfi. The OneMicShow is offering $30. Kenyan, I don't know whether you've taken advantage of our $30. We're offering a whole $30.
Sign up, Kwanza.
For the first $100 sent on your first transaction using the code OneMic. Or if you don't want to use the code, there's a link already on YouTube and Facebook that have been pinned. Click on that link, download, sign up. Even if you're not ready to send the $100 right away, you can wait until your next paycheck gets in, send it, and you get $30 back. Now, click the links, of course, are on the comments, so please go ahead and do it. And we want to thank those who already did it last week. And please take that link, copy paste it, share it with your neighbors, share it with your friends. Mara nyingi wanatuuliza, oh, you see you guys doing, like this show, where can we help? So this is part of what we're trying to see. We're on a trial basis with Lemfi, depending on how many of you download.
By the way,
yes. So this is
download
this is
and
on
install.
You. Yeah, and this will allow us
as well as forward to all your friends and others.
And access.
Yes, and this will allow us to have a few coins in our pockets to keep the lights on, to make Omosh look handsome, even though in real life he's not. Things like those.
Hold on.
Yeah.
No. Let me cue there. Okay, go ahead.
Yes.
To make Omosh.
To make Omosh handsome.
Look at point at him.
Although in real life, right here.
Yeah,
although in real life he's not. To make his hair look like he actually went to a salon when alijisuka. But yeah. So those are the cameras we have allow us to do that.
You should have just said no Didi after that. But
hapana, hiyo tuliwacha last week.
Sorry.
Hiyo tuliwacha last week. But yeah. So please download this and let us know. And like I said, we'll shortly be talking about enforced disappearance. This has been another big issue that has been happening, that has kind of gone under the rug because of all this political drama that has been going on. Kenyan Juice says, I would have scored an A+ in GSC had I today's civic class at the same time. Yeah, so back here up, and now if you download that
Lemfi,
app,
yes.
Lemfi, and you sign in and eventually send $100 and get $30 back, it will allow Lemfi to be paying us so that we can keep these lights open.
And we keep this GHC cost on
going.
and popping.
We'll keep it going because 2027 is not that far. We
It's
don't
not
even
far.
know whether we'll get there, but we have to have all the tools necessary to get us
So
there.
to say DNA.
Yeah. So now, going back to those comments, Amboko,
Yes.
because we're already talking about the dissolution of Parliament, and we already started that discussion of should Parliament be dissolved, because clearly 281 votes, like over 80% of the total, because there were a couple who were absent. I think there was like 18 absent. I think there was like one abstention. But Parliament basically was house full. It's never been that full before, and you saw like everybody just went with the flow of the program, which leads to people saying that Parliament has been completely captured and it no longer represents the interests of the people, but it's representative of the interests of a few people who are in leadership. So kwa hiyo option ya dissolve Parliament, we already deliberated on it. Do you think it's a viable option, Uno Mike, as you read us the other point that Julian's made regarding the impeachment, or rather the court case?
So I think there were 6. Kulikuwa na vidokezo 6 kwa hiyo ya Julian's Amboko, and let me if I can get this thing.
Yeah, he very carefully crafted, like a summary of what, because we were having a hard time getting the actual full document.
We did.
Yeah.
We actually did. We were trying to. So we ended up just going with what was posted on the. Because I asked earlier, like, do you have the whole document? Like, no. Let me ask my sleuths. But so the last part, the final one, this one, maybe let me give at least some breathing space. So finally, the judge raises the question: jurisdiction. Does the jurisdiction of the High Court extend to interrogating the material relied upon under an impeachment process as approved by Article 145 of the Constitution? Says, finally, notwithstanding the voting in terms of numbers in both the National Assembly and the Senate on the impeachment motion, if the jurisdiction under Article 165.3 extends to interrogating the material relied upon under 145, so as to determine if the threshold to support the allegations was established either in the National Assembly or the Senate, or in both.
So to me, this one right here, and this one is being brought up by the High Court, but to me, I think this looks like the weakest one. So basically, I think what it means is, do the courts have jurisdiction in determining whether those allegations that are being brought in the National Assembly meet the threshold of an impeachable offense?
I agree with you, and I think those ones are weak, but the ones that are, because that
the ones that attack the process, yes, I think those are stronger. But
because they're stronger, because guess what? Because
yeah,
now all those lead to
the final all one. Those lead, but this one of attacking, the allegations,
yes,
because you see the thing is with impeachment is a very weird animal. It doesn't have to be a criminal case, and maybe we need to go back and read the
Where's
Constitution.
Pablo when you need him? Pablo!
Maybe we need to go back and read the Constitution, but that threshold is determined, the judicial body that determines the threshold is the Senate. So
yes,
the Parliament just says, okay, these allegations look good enough, send them to court. And what is the court? It's a Senate. So the Senate is the one that adjudicates whether they merit or do not merit impeachment. So I don't think, at this part, I don't think, and I could be wrong, that the court can make a determination on the threshold. Let's say, if there was a stupid allegation. Let's say like someone is being impeached for passing gas. You like passing gas all the time. You know, stupid reason, but now can the court come in and tell the Senate, okay, this has not met the threshold for impeachment. So you cannot impeach someone for this offense. That I think will be now crossing, you know, like the separation of the different branches of government.
Let me ask you something, Ali. And I don't know if there's a correlation. Maybe Mika can help with this. Usually the NFL, MLB, NBA try as very much as possible not to go before Congress, because Congress is going to pass laws with which those bodies have to abide by.
Yeah.
Right?
Because Congress actually has laws on what they're currently abiding by.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, is this a way of this guy saying, listen, we don't want to come in. We want you, Senate, boss,
To sort this.
please manage these my challenges.
Yeah.
Because if we come in, we're going to come in with the law. I think that is, I don't know, that's what I'm saying. I think they're like, in as much as it is weak that you say, but it's weak because they're like, hey, okay, listen,
Yeah.
the boss, can you manage these my challenges? Because if we come in, they are going to come in interpreting the law
Yeah.
properly
So-
as it is. Mika.
What if that last point that he put out, then the three bench decide that the courts don't have any jurisdiction in prosecuting them?
No, this is specifically on prosecuting the allegations, not the process. The process, that's constitutional.
Yes.
But now the allegations. Does the court have a right to come and make a determination if these allegations met the minimum threshold
And
as laid out by the Constitution?
And they want to avoid that.
They want to avoid that.
But there is
don't want-
one that will Nini, the one that he went after the NIS boss. That's rock solid.
No, but that's not that's not so like if that's a criminal offense, then it should be charged. The problem right now with these
No, not
allegations,
as a criminal offense. If you look on thing, that is undermining the president, because that is undermining the president is saying the NIS have said this and they're doing this, and then he turned around and blamed the NIS and said the NIS had not done anything.
But now,
Right.
what the courts are trying to say is we want the Senate to determine that.
But
We don't want to be part of making that determination.
Yeah, so that's another thing, and like for me is that with this one is the Senate can determine and say yes, this is it, because at the end of the day, let's not forget that everything the Senate is doing is politically motivated. So we are looking at it from a logical point of view and try to look at it from a law point of view. But the Senate is going to be politically motivated, always. Same as Parliament, same as the presidency. And that is the one thing that the courts are going to try to avoid, to leave politics to play to politics.
No, but Mika, if I may ask, I get it, but I think also the notion or the idea of the court, because I don't think they want to really disrupt the process, but they also want to make sure that within the process of how this thing is carried out, if you're going to impeach, and that is why, like with Mugambi putting out his 6-piece or 7-piece or whatever, saying like now, for example, is Parliament properly constituted to that gender rule? Is there adequate public participation? Is 7 days enough? Right? When he's talking about there's some other things that that escape my mind. But in terms of just the process itself, like make sure that the Constitution has set public participation with the Public Participation Act, right? With the Public Participation Act.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In as much as hatutaki kuingilia, we want to see, like, and Omosh knows this. Like before, let's say, for example, if Ali calls and says that, my computer is not working, kuna check mark, you'll go through. Is it plugged in?
Yes.
Power button.
Mm-hmm.
Have you restarted?
Did you remove the floppy disk?
Do you
And sometimes even
pending?
even good IT departments give these templates
Yes.
to people.
Have you restarted?
Yeah, before they
You're
call.
pending updates or whatever before we come in.
Yeah.
Like, okay, have you talked to Omosh?
Yeah,
no,
give
have you
us
talked to
a
Mika?
playbook, yeah.
No, like, okay. So then when they come in, these have been checked in. And I think that in as much as, because remember, it's a political process. And it in itself, it is ni changamoto. You're trying to avoid flare-ups and fires. But we want to make sure that this process, if anything, within this window, imefuatiliwa. And I think that is why Mugambi is saying, you know what, let me not be the jury, judge, and executioner, because me niko hapa tu High Court. CJ, fafanua, such that
and
precedent, once it is set,
it's never.
Now you can challenge precedent.
And that is why if we go back to earlier why I said this can be a can of worms, because this is a chief justice, or this is a judiciary that basically sings to the tune of the government pretty much. And it can set a precedence of all this is okay for an impeachment. And this is where all the other courts will be referring to when an impeachment happens. But then it can turn out, mtu kuambia sheria msumeno. Ali, you know that saying is right? Sheria msumeno. Kata pande zote mbili, kienda mbele kirudi nyuma.
Yes.
So it might serve right now pretty well. But then if you're an ambitious politician, and this is the precedent that has been set, guess what does this give you? A playbook of how to make your moves.
And okay, and agreed. It gives you a playbook until the next time eyebrows are raised. And they're like, let us, because you know what? There have always been adjustments and amendments.
True.
There will always be that. So we have learned this again, like, the Dred Scott case. When you look back in the day, whatever, when you look at that, Brown versus Board of Education prior to that, like, but at least kuna foundation na kuna grounding, at least there's a beginning. There's a start. At least now, you know what, we can start from here, because now they look back, they'll be like, okay, chances are some brilliant lawyer somewhere is going to come back and say, we did this, but however, this was never exhausted, or this was never looked into, but actually out of this bore this. Because remember, we had, we could be doing this right now, and we are looking at this as it is right now. Maybe 5 years down, after 2027, who knows? Something is going to come up that probably we never thought. Because like now, many people have never thought or understood or comprehend the 2/3 gender rule.
Yes, and that's right.
No one right now.
Yeah.
Even our listeners right now, they don't know. Even when you talk about properly constituted parliament, as we speak right now.
Forget about 2/3 gender rule. There is another one that states that within 12 years of IBC is supposed to do what's called redistricting. I think it's between 10 it's 8 to 12 years.
Yes,
I think it's something like that.
10,
but we already passed that time.
Yes.
So no redistricting has been done.
None.
So that's another part that can also become a poison pill. there are so many different poisonous pills that can be thrown, whereby we just get a crazy activist judiciary, they can burn everything.
And that is why, and that's why I'm saying, like, that in itself can cause, let us look into this again.
Yes.
It is going to do that.
Yes.
Because there's so many things that we do not know. We are not aware.
Yep.
We are not familiar with the constitution, the law. We are not, again.
The 2/3 gender rule, I like the spirit and the idea, but I think it wasn't properly thought out on how difficult it will be to implement. Other parliaments, have higher percentages of women than Kenya, despite not having a 2/3 rule. Tanzania has a higher percentage of women in their parliament than Kenya. Rwanda, I think, is almost at 50-50. So there's something, either we are doing fundamentally wrong, whereby even despite a law, we are still not meeting that threshold. And I think what this law did, it made, women who could qualify to run decide to go for the woman's rep seat. So now you're leaving more men for these constituency seats, because I think when you look at the constituency seats, the percentage of women has not increased, because the idea was once we start having these women rep, the percentage of these constituencies will increase the number of women. And then at some point, because even the women rep, another thing that a lot of people don't know, and which is why it's good to have this civic education, there's a sunset clause. I don't remember exactly what number of years it is. There's a sunset clause for women rep, because it was supposed to make way, create new leaders who will now be able to vie for the normal seats.
And again,
but do you think that the reason why some of these numbers are the way they are is because of our politics in Kenya, where it's male centric, and it's male centric to the point where the voters are not going to vote in women unless
it could be
unless they are being grandfathered, or should I say they are being held, their hands are being held by somebody who they respect.
But we've had quite a few women governors who stood on their own. We had Charity Ngilu, who was a governor.
Okay, but Ali, you have to go back to the history of someone like Charity Ngilu. Ex her, you can't use her.
What about Gladys Wanga? Gladys Wanga was held by
hands were held. Yes. And that's why I'm saying that if your hands are not being held by this person, or you're not coming from, say, a political family like Kihika, then Awingi, Utoboi, someone either has to hold you, bring you in, or you come from a political family.
So that's a puzzle which, I'll be honest, I don't know how to solve.
And unless we unlock that key, or we open it up and get our voters to the point where it's the best person for the job, man or woman, it's not going to change. Based upon our voting patterns.
Okay. Did you guys listen to Bob Njagi's interview on Spice?
I did. Bob Njagi. For people who don't know, Bob Njagi is
it part of your career?
Yes. So we're gonna.
He's on the playlist.
No.
He's on the Bob Njagi is on the playlist.
Oh, okay. Because
we're gonna talk about him.
Bob Njagi was mentioned about the Kerama. Oh, sorry, no.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, Bob Njagi is one of the people who was abducted, held for 32 days, and was recently released. So we're gonna talk about him shortly.
From August, right?
I can't remember exactly when.
Something.
Yeah, yes. but we're going to talk about it.
No, now. What I was going to say, Omosh, I think at some point, and you're right, and this is and this is why I think it is important for people to be educated on constitution, because Mugambi, Justice Mugambi, you know, big up, is saying, let's do this. Wacha nirudishe huko ndani, ndio sasa watu wafanye nini? Let the powers that be, let the CJ create a precedent.
Yes, and hapa Wairimo